Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Today, I want to just deal with something very special because remember that we are soon approaching the Passover, and particularly this week, whereby many are invited in different Passover conferences, and many will be traveling to different places as guest speakers in Passover conferences. But not only Passover conferences, but many other conferences that churches are having. You, as an inviter, a person who's a host, you are hosting many people that are coming through. There are ministers that are coming to deliver and speak actually in your conferences. But I want to just to make some ministers or some hosts aware of what to look for, basically, simply as an indicator that your guest speaker has delivered to your conference or has delivered according to your expectation in the conference. So many times we look at inviting people just because they are known. We inviting people because they are high profile, and we call them sometimes crowd pullers and so on. There's something much more important than that. Because what is more important is for someone to come all the way to come and deliver properly into the theme of your conference, into what your expectations are in your conference. Remember, when you set up a conference, you've got some expectations. You've got some goals that you need to achieve. There are some plans that you might have had that you want to deliver to your congregation, and it's very important that the guest speakers come there to deliver to your conference. But what do you look at? Some indicators. That's what we're speaking about. The first indicator is ability to stick to the theme that you have given them. And this is very important. And I know there are many ministers who will say, but themes are limiting the Holy Spirit. Remember, the Holy Spirit is God, and God cannot be limited. So therefore, if there is a theme that you are invited for, please, as a guest speaker, stick to the theme, because the host has actually organized the theme for the purpose of the topic that he wants to deliver. There is actually an objective with the conference. There is a topic that is put up, which we call a theme, which is for the purpose of delivering or to give a direction to the speakers so that they can speak within that line and be able to deliver that which was expected to be delivered in this conference. And this is very important. And I must urge guest speakers that don't violate this, because when you are given a theme, it is very important that you stick to the theme that you are given to. Because the theme becomes then the marker. It becomes an indicator that the host will be able to see if he has achieved that which he wants to achieve through the conference that he has put up. Now, the theme then becomes very important. And I want to urge guest speakers to stick to the theme that is given to them. Secondly, align scriptures in relations to the theme, because it is confusing for somebody who would call a theme as a topic and then go totally different direction to what the theme says. Now, this is very important, because whatever scriptures that you put towards what you are teaching about, it must be in line, because remember that it's a human nature to follow understanding, or the logic of understanding, based on the relationship of the materials that you're delivering, based on what you're teaching, based on what you're saying. This is very important, and I cannot ignore and I cannot emphasize this that much, because this is very important, that we are therefore going to look at the scriptures that you have lined up. As much as you say you're following the theme, but the scriptures must not be deceiving, in the sense that you must just not pick up scriptures that are not talking to the theme, because that will bring confusion to the listeners. And that's very, very important. So, and I know that many people find it difficult to actually get scriptures that relate to the theme. And that should be something that, as a guest speaker, you master that. You are able to actually get scriptures that marry to the theme itself. Now, there's also what we call examples, because all examples to be appropriate as well, and they should be in line with the topic at hand. We have actually started seeing pastors or ministers of the gospel who have turned into being comedians. We have seen ministers that are actually more happier with jokes that may not be in line with exactly what they're teaching about. But also what I want to emphasize is the fact that the examples that you give, very important. Because when you give an example, it should be to clarify the theme that you're talking about. It must be clarifying the topic that you're embarking on. Because if the example that you give is totally contrary to what you're speaking about, what it is going to do is to confuse the listeners, confuse the audience. They may not even hear what you're talking about because the examples are so much inappropriate. Now, I want to emphasize that line up examples that will be appropriate. And I know there are ministers that are very good in this, whereby they are able to outline examples that will be totally related to what they're speaking about. And that becomes very key, because when you've got examples that align to what you're speaking about, what it does, it facilitates the understanding. It makes the people to understand much more clearer what you're speaking about, because that is very key that we emphasize that. Now, the examples are very, very important. Now, the other thing is deliver usable principles to the audience, because there are times when we just preach and go on, and people don't even have any nuggets that they can take and go and put and practice. Because the problem here is, if you talk all other things and you don't give people a direction of what to apply and what to practice in their life, what to apply in their lives, it is actually going to be a very good message, a good sermon, but that sermon will be useless. A good sermon, but useless sermon. Because sermon should be practical enough, and it must be in a way that people can be able to know, what must I do out of this? Where must I change? What is the message saying to me? What is God saying to me? Now, that is very key, because that can only be when you intentionally deliver usable principles to the audience for people to know that these are the things. And that is why I must prefer people that teach about step 1, step 2, step 3. I know there are many people that criticize them, but I love them because they are able to give you those steps so that you can go out there and try to practice them. And as you practice those steps, you would see life changing. You would actually start to see something happening in your life. Because when there's no practical nuggets or principles that you are given, you may have listened to this sermon, as I said, but this sermon is not helping you with anything. I'm urging speakers, I'm urging ministers to be able to have something that people can grab, something that people can be able to apply in their lives as you speak to them. And the nuggets that will be usable, principles that will be able to be applied in somebody's life, and they will be able to obey and to do the things that they've been listening to in the sermon. That's very important. The other thing is ministering in audible manner, avoiding unnecessary noise. And I know that many of us have actually thought that making noise is something very important. And many people rely on making noise and they don't talk audibly. You make so much noise that nobody even hears your voice because you're too loud. And maybe also you find that the echo of the place where you are, because audibility, saints, is very important. When you speak to people, rather don't use a microphone. Use your own voice if the microphone is noisy. Rather don't use the PA system if the PA system is actually distracting the listening of the people. If you are able to speak audibly to the people without the PA system, rather use your own voice. Because what you are aiming for here is audibility. People must be able to hear every single word that you're uttering, so that they can be able to follow every step of the way and be able to hear what you're talking about. Because if they don't know what you're talking about, believe me, they are going to be lost. They're not going to know what you're talking about, and they're not going to be able to apply any of what you've delivered there. Audibility is very, very important. So let people then hear what you're saying. Avoid unnecessary noise. Now, the other thing about delivering messages is ministering in very simplistic way. accommodating all levels of people. Remember that when you come very high theologically, you come very, very high standard of a Bible scholar type of teaching, whereby many people may not understand. Remember, there are people of different ages in that conference. There are many people coming from different backgrounds, certain levels of educational standards that are not the same as well. So be as simple as possible. And I want to urge all speakers in conferences, be simplistic and simple as possible. Don't become too high for the people in the sense of understanding, because there are words that are difficult for people to comprehend. Now, I always say this, that sometimes we find speakers that will come with Hebrew words and Greek words, and without actually explaining them, without interpreting them. And that becomes confusing for the people, because not everybody's at that level to know what the Greek words and the Hebrew words mean. So I always advise that as a guest speaker, be as simple as possible. If you have to explain a word through a Greek context or Hebrew context, so please outline it in a simplistic way that people can understand and can be able to follow. As I say, there are many people in that conference that may not be on the level of understanding Greek and Hebrew, but they may be able to understand practical means and ways of applying the word in their lives. It's very, very important that we emphasize that. The other thing that, as I close, is accomplish the objective of one who invited you. So find out from the host why they invited you, and then find out what do they want you to talk about, and therefore establish that objective, be able to hit the target, be able to speak according to that objective, and align yourself according to the objective, because they've set that objective mainly to help their people. Remember, you are just a guest speaker coming there, and the aim is to touch the people in the church. Finally, remember also that establish the language of the people, the common language of the people. And if you cannot speak the common language of the community, so please let there be an interpreter so that people can understand. This speaks again to audibility, because also it's not only that you're audible, but it's that people can understand what you're speaking about. I want to end up here today. Your host, Micornus, Phokane, the leader, the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I hope that you are learning quite a bit out of this. And I want to invite you once more to dealing with another topic tomorrow. And I believe that you'll follow us on our social media platforms, our Facebook pages, Church Governance Solutions, and Micornus, Phokane. And then follow us there, like those pages. And make sure also that you follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel that's under Young Men Empowerment Forum and Micornus, Phokane. There's a lot of materials that we've posted in there. But finally, our TikTok account as well is active. You can actually check us out there as well. The good Lord will bless you. Allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.